Are you living with a plan? Are you living with a purpose?
What's going on, everybody? How are you doing this Happy Wednesday? Thank you all so very much. I hope you guys enjoyed the last episode that we had. Of course, you know that we're going to keep this thing going. This is all about the movement. How is everybody doing, though? Like, is everybody doing okay? I truly do hope so, right? So today, you guys, I've been waiting for this moment as well because we have another Black excellence of our gentleman on the platform, and that will be Mr. Britton Carter. But before we bring him in, I gotta ask, are y'all living with a plan or a purpose? We gotta make sure that you guys are keeping yourselves focused, keeping you guys, a game on when it comes to the mental and emotional wealth. And most importantly, we gotta do it for our gentlemen. So today is a day that we are prepared to introduce to you a gentleman on our platform of resilience, of Black excellence, but also who has a phenomenal story that is very moving, very different than what anyone else may have experienced before. And so today we will be sharing his story. So please, everyone, please give a round of applause for Mr. Britton Carter. Hello, hello, hello. I am so happy to have you here, Mr. Carter. How are you doing?
I am great. I am great. And Tia, let me say, I am extremely honored to be here with you today.
Thank
I've been
you.
looking forward to this moment as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I tell you, we have been definitely planning this for a long time. And now we get the opportunity to be here and to share your experience. Tell everyone, what do you do? We see it here on the caption, but give a little bit about yourself and what do you do?
Well, I attempt to wear many hats. So I'm a film director, writer, playwright. I'm also a advocate, social advocate. I advocate for social injustices, and I'm a grandfather and a father.
Oh, wow. A grandfather and a father. Father of how many?
Oh, wow. I'm a father of six, and
Wow.
I'm a grandfather, and I'm a great grandfather now. So I have two new great grandkids.
Oh,
And yeah, they're making me old at, 67, and they did this to me. Wow, go figure.
oh, wow. Well, isn't that something to have such a life full of love, right? That's what it seems like it. I always follow you on Facebook and I see how you are just full of love with so many different supporters and different people. And then even more so being a film director, that comes with an audience of support as well.
All
But
right.
of course, huh?
Yeah, absolutely, it does.
Absolutely, right? So of course we're not just here to have you just to talk about the things that have gotten you to success, but we're also here to talk about your journey. A lot of gentlemen from, us previously talking have went through a journey that sometimes may be difficult to discuss. And we, want to talk about some of the adversities that maybe you had faced before you got to the road of success.
Okay, that's great. That's great. I'm not sure where you want me to start, but let me first say this: that inclusive in that, who am I? I'm a survivor, and I'm a survivor, and that's first and foremost to anything. I've survived my own personal Holocaust, uh,
Mm.
dealing with trauma, dealing with sexual abuse. And so, if you like, I'll start wherever you want me to start, because my whole mission is to get this information out.
Of course. And again, we thank you for being so diligent about making sexual abuse an awareness for men, because we know that that is something that's very touchy that men may have a difficult time talking about. But where I want to start is, what did life look like for you growing up?
Wow. Uh, life for me growing up was fantastic until the age of 8. Meaning that all those things that little kids from infancy to the age of 8 was just like the best I could ever ask for. And I mean, I did the things that most kids did. I played sports early, little league. This, I was a happy child, and then my world was flipped. And so the rest of my childhood, the remaining of my childhood, was met with a new identity
Wow.
that was replaced as a result of the trauma that I endured at 8.
Wow. So here you mention a new identity. That's a very strategic wording. Here you are 8 years old, living life fancy free, enjoying, so much that a typical 8-year-old, would enjoy. But what is it in your identity that changed at the age of 8?
Well, uh, I think I probably would want to first say what had happened to me. So we need to understand that I was sexually abused twice by the age of 8,
Oh, wow.
and being sexually abused as a result of that, what manifested was first of all a new identity, and second of all a person that kind of wore many masks because my spirit was broken. So when your spirit is broken, that was an opportunity for me to develop this other personality to help me to survive. So my nickname is Pete, and so I identify with Pete and Britton. So Petey was the protector, the savior, the guy that can, he was that hard nosed guy. You're not gonna just do anything to him. So I darned that mask early in life. Like I believe I really started to identify with that character about 9 or so.
Oh, wow.
Shortly after my incident, actually I was molested twice. So, uh, yeah. So I had to have these personalities in order to survive.
Do you feel that growing up, that a part of you was resilient? Or do you feel that at that point you mentioned masking, which is
Mm-hmm.
something that a lot of us do when we are affected by trauma?
Oh, absolutely.
But where did you struggle with the resilience during that time?
Oh, of course. Of course. Early on, there was a lot of question asking to myself, not truly understanding what this movement was about within me,
Mm-hmm.
psychologically, physically, emotionally. So all those things came into play. So it took a while for me to just kind of isolate, exactly what was going on. Uh, I was tormented by thoughts, will I be stigmatized? Is this my fault? Did I do? Is this something I did? Am I homosexual? You know, uh, am I going to be the target for much of the ridicule and the words that people used back in that time,
Right.
to identify a person was just so horrible for a kid.
Right.
So I didn't know if I was going to be labeled a sissy, a fag, a punk. I couldn't tell my black mother what happened to me because I'm an African American child that's growing up in the 60s.
Right.
And you don't go tell your mother that this happened to you. So it was a secret. So I had to don all these masks in order to endure these secrets and to be able to kind of like make it through those tough times carrying this burden.
Wow.
So,
Now, expound on what did that look like for you? Because here you was a happy-go-lucky kid. Because I'm mentally there with you. May I ask, was your abuser, was it a male or female?
it was a male. It was two males.
It was two
So,
males.
mhm.
And so, what did the innocence of you, where did that person go, knowing that this was someone that at one point you trusted? knowing that this may have been someone that your mother may have introduced to take care of you while she may have been away. What did
Mhm.
that do to your trust factor in life?
Oh, it devastated it. It was difficult to trust anyone again. There were certain signs that quickly in life, early on in life, I I adjusted to. I knew what to look for. There were red flags that I could recognize. When I was being challenged, that stands out. My whole gardening of the mask of my other personality was to protect me from being challenged or threatened. Even if it was just verbal, it could be the slightest thing, and my radar would go off like this is a person that's trying to do something to me. So I didn't trust easy, and then not to mention the overall factor was that my mother had introduced me, had taken me to these. We knew them; they were childhood friends.
Mhm.
My mother knew their parents, and back in the '60s, it wasn't uncommon for a male to have to babysit. you know.
Right.
And uh, unfortunately, I was babysitted by two males, and one had taken us to the movies, myself and his two brothers, who
Mhm.
sat in front of us in the theater. And while I was sitting in the back with him, you know, he had a deformity. His hand was deformed, and it
Mhm.
just so monstrous. I was so frightened of it. I thought it was this weapon. You know what I mean? As a kid, and he forced me to perform all effects on him. Now here I am, a kid. I don't know what I'm doing. If that was my thing, I didn't know what I was doing, and I'm like, here it is. Afterwards, I saw his brother turn around and look and start snickering. So all of this just kind of like shifted my whole concept about uh, trust,
Mhm.
happiness, who I was. That
Mhm.
was a question that an 8-year-old kid shouldn't have had to answer. Who are you? You know
Very
what I
true. Very, very true. It's a
mean?
very tender stage. Now, knowing how that affected you then, what was your relationship like with your mother?
Oh, I love my mother. I adored her, and I still do. She's still alive. So my mother, we became estranged. At some point. Uh, as I said before, I excelled in athletics. I played basketball, and
Mhm.
my mother was always present in my athletic, career. She was always there from little league on up. And over the years, this secret, just kept festering inside of me,
Mhm.
and it became a situation where I didn't like my mother.
Wow.
I discovered that I didn't like her. You know
Wow.
what I'm saying? She did something to me. At least that's what I thought, and that's what I put on her. My mother allowed something to happen to me that stole my innocence, that reshaped my whole values. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
At 8 years old, what do you know about values? You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So now everything to me was uh, doggy dog.
Mhm.
And it manifested itself through athletics. I excelled. I excelled at a high rate because I was so aggressive. There
Mhm.
was no in between with me. There was no medium with me. There was this straight to the top.
Right.
Everything was intense with me because this event that took place in my life
Mhm.
was so intense that it shaped my life, to the point to where I wouldn't trust if in my relationships with women, uh,
Mhm.
I found myself, listening for these cues, listening for when I would be challenged or, little arguments, and I would listen for certain key words.
Mhm.
And that wasn't great because, I haven't had the most successful uh, relationships, but I had some great ones. But
Right.
overall, I've always gone through this this struggle early on because they didn't understand that I was affected by something at 8 years old that's manifesting itself now.
Right. And let's talk about that. I mean, again, a stand-up guy that you are, no one would ever know that you have suffered these things. But I strongly believe in perspective and mentality, because those are two things that we wholeheartedly live by. And I know for you, you triumph again over so much because you
Mhm.
tell us about what that experience, what it did for you in your most silent thoughts. Because sometimes we see our gentlemen on the outside, right? We see that you all work hard. We see that you all are the strength of a relationship or strength of a father or strength of a grandfather. But we're not with you at those silent, quiet, dark nights. And so what is that like for you? Not necessarily now, but more so then. How
Well,
was it being in that dark place?
well, it's the same now as it was then. It's just that I got a little more clarity as to what's going on. Um, that silent place for me is always. If you look at my photos, and I tell people this, they say you're doing this, you're doing that, and I say look at my eyes, look at my
Yes.
eyes. It's vacant. It's vacant. So what it has done for me, that silence that you talk about, and I'm glad you asked that question because that's one of the things that I deal with a lot. Is
Mm.
I can be with you, and I'm silent. I'm not there. Um, you know, I'm just not there. I'm
Wow.
so I'm so completely affected by that situation that and I work in the field, so it's like here it is. I can help somebody else process and do all of that great stuff. But when it comes to me and when it's quiet and those silent moments,
Mhm.
these hearts come back to haunt me. I
Yeah,
mean, they're so
absolutely.
present. They're so present that it takes. And my relationships that sustained that, it was because they were just unique people. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? The women just happen to be so very, very special. And unfortunately, they passed. You know what I mean? So,
Right.
but when they were alive, those that I have in mind, those were my greatest relationships. They recognized those silent times.
Right.
They knew when to help bring me back, so to
Mhm.
speak. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And we would process and talk about some things. However, for those that don't understand that, and I apologize to them so many times over because I know when you don't understand what a person has gone through with trauma,
Mhm.
you don't know how it's going to manifest itself or what it looks like for them. So
Right.
you can't identify it. And the first thing that most people want to do is say something's wrong with him. I don't want to, anti so whatever. But
Mhm.
I become somewhat reclusive in a crowd of people. If you
Well,
can get that,
and if
you
you
know.
all, let me just say this, you guys, if you all follow him on Facebook, you would again never ever know that Britton is like this because he seems like the happiest, the most, you could tell that he's just the most lovable, but at the same time, you see him, he's around people, everybody's hugging him, everybody's taking pictures with him. But you brought out a point that I don't think we see often or we don't pay attention to, and that's the silence.
Hmm.
And this is why, even in the mental health industry, I always encourage people, let's talk about how we can break that silence because that silence alone is what the killer is.
Right.
This is why people look at you and say, well, I just spent time with him. We just went on vacation together. How did this tragedy happen? And it's because you're physically present, but emotionally and mentally you're absent,
Gone.
just gone. And how heart wrenching that is because how many gentlemen are living like this, but yet we see strength. And that's the whole point of this show is understanding the mindset of men, knowing that you matter, knowing that when the littlest things affect you, we are here, we care. And that points me to another question is, what does support look like for you?
Well, as I said before, the people that were in my life that actually helped me through a lot of these dark moments, they're no longer here. So support for me, and I don't want to take anything from anybody. I've had people that have noticed different things, and they're just, I get the pats on the back, that type of thing. But actually, the support I get is when I'm creating. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, my support comes when I'm writing the script.
Mm-hmm.
My support comes when I shoot a shot and I nail that shot. You know
Right,
what I mean? That's my
right.
support. That's letting me that's actually telling me you're of value. You mean something. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Don't be defined by what happened to you yesterday. This
Right,
is what you're doing today,
right.
and it's different because when I was when I was playing basketball and I was excelling and I was getting that type of support, actually I was a good athlete.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was good.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother was the one that promoted my playing sports because, as I said, I'm 67, so we knew I grew up at a time when black men were expected to do only so many things: insurance salesmen, pimps and hustlers,
Mm-hmm.
athletes, and the funeral director. So,
Right,
and I couldn't sing. I
right,
tried, you know what I mean? But but I
right.
couldn't sing. So I had to do something. But through my athletic career, my mother was there, and this is the same person that I held responsible
Mm.
for what happened to me.
N-
So,
Now I
it,
gotta ask.
it,
I'm sorry to interject, but I gotta
no,
ask
go ahead.
with that one. How do you channel that? This is the same woman that's supporting you, but this is the same woman that, if I could say, there was a development of anger and rage and probably nearby hate. How do you channel that, knowing she's there to support you, but yet you feel like this woman is everything other than my support?
Right. And so when I felt that way, I couldn't handle it. I would react. I would be angry. Number one, I'm
Mm,
angry because this is my mother. You know what I'm saying? I'm angry. I'm angry because life has cheated me. So I'm thinking this is my
mhm,
feeling.
mhm,
So, but at this point in life where we are now, after I did a show,
mhm,
and it was a panel, and I was the only male that sat on the panel with women who had been traumatized
mm,
and molestation and whatnot. So uh, I gave a male perspective, and I pretty much what I'm doing now, and talked about me and what
mhm,
happened to me, and that was the time at that point that my relationship with my mother started to mend because she didn't know.
mm.
She didn't know. And at that point, I was 50 years old,
Wow,
somewhere around in there, 50, 54.
wow.
And I'm on a show and she saw this. Well, she didn't see it. She heard about it. Then she saw the tape. And we talked for days. And
Mhm,
she cried. I cried. My sisters cried. And, I had tried to tell her before. And, but back then, your mother was like, oh, boy, go ahead on. Anyway, that type of thing. You know
right,
what I mean? So that's when you say, oh, okay, I better not say nothing.
right.
So yeah, but she's really supportive of me today and what I'm doing. She's happy that that I'm doing what it is that I want to do, that I feel like I can achieve. So
Mhm.
yeah, so she's there today, but it was a long road, and it's a healing process.
Yeah.
You know,
Did you feel that? Did you, when you did attempt to tell her, was her response like that didn't happen, or?
yeah, yeah, like boy, go ahead, sit down somewhere. You know what I mean? That type of thing. Um, I was, and to back up, just what led to that was that I was acting out in school. One of
Oh.
the signs of abuse on any form is when you act out. You know, I didn't have body odors and stuff like that because you
Mhm.
know, I mean, my mama was like, "Boy, you better get in that bathtub right
Right.
now." So,
Exactly.
so I didn't
Exactly.
have all those things that they could look at and say, "Well, something's wrong." What I
Mhm.
did have was I had teachers that would have conferences and say, "You know, he's polite and he's an intelligent kid, but he's not doing the work. It's like he's failing because he's not doing the work."
Wow.
Or if I got into a argument, a confrontation, there was a guy I fought every day for a while, and you know, they want to know what was going on with why was I so angry. You know,
Mhm.
and this guy later on became one of my better friends.
Oh,
But
wow.
I fought him, and I think for some reason I got the feeling that he knew I needed to get that out.
Yes.
He would be waiting on me,
Wow.
and we would fight, and I go sit down and be mad, go to the principal's office, get sent home or
Mhm.
whatever. And but yeah, it manifested itself through me fighting that anger, that angerness.
Mhm.
So finally, my mother was like, "Hey, look, something wrong with him, John." But they had taken me to a therapist. Went
Mhm.
there, I couldn't figure it out, and I because I never said what happened to me.
Wow.
So
Now, when a therapist can't figure it out, you know that
nobody,
you asked very well.
yeah,
But
I
this is
hit that thing. I hit that
what,
thing. Like
but
I
you know,
said,
this is why I use charting. This is one of the reasons, the key reasons, because sometimes, especially for men, when it is that bad for you, the worst thing to do is to communicate the problem. You
that's
know,
right.
it's the hardest thing to do. So, of course, you'll experience on the show what those chartings actually do, but
Mm-hmm.
what it will reveal. But what I like about your resilience was as much as you was in pain, you waited for the right time. What you felt to be the right time. You respected yourself enough to say, okay, now is the time for me to press forward and to let the world know that I'm
Yeah.
hurt and that I'm hurt in ways that no one knew.
Right.
Then you have those internal scars that you wear day in and day out. Now, my question to you is what is hurting you the most right now in your life?
What's hurting me the most, and it's relative to my event, is that I wake up feeling that I have to work extra hard to prove myself to be a strong black man, a
Mm,
strong man, period. You know, a strong man that that's worthy of a woman that's equally as strong, and and I settle. You know, so I get upset with myself when I find myself settling for people to be in my life who I basically, and this is crazy, and I know it's happening, but I settle for those that I can control. You know what I'm saying? Because
mhm,
I don't want you asking me what's wrong with me. I
mhm,
do, but I don't. I don't want to
mhm.
feel it. But if the people that were in my life that passed on, for some reason they were probably put in my life at the right time.
No reason. Yeah.
And but I don't have that now, and I have to
Mhm.
deal with, I deal with settling because I can manage that. Don't ask me that.
Right.
Don't. What do you mean? What's wrong with me?
Right.
I mean, any of that I could shut you down. And now what happens is I realize I'm I'm re-earthing all that mess, and
Exactly.
now I'm giving it to you. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? You don't even know what I'm giving you. And it's
Exactly.
unfair, and I get upset with myself for being so unfair. But when you look in today's society, what's harmful is that people take. I've had someone take my information, and they knew my story, and it was a woman, and she attacked me with it.
Mm. Ooh.
And she attacked me with it. I've had folks. accused me of some dastardly things because they knew about my past.
Mm-mm.
So it was like, well, you probably do. Oh my God.
Right.
So now there's where the reclusiveness comes in. There's where I'm there, but I'm not. I'm on high alert. I'm in a room, and it's like I'm on
Right.
high alert because
Right.
I can't trust people in my circle
Right.
with this information. So it's hard to really, like right now in my life, I feel like I did maybe 10, 15 years ago, when I was still
Mm-hmm.
trying to regurgitate some of this mess. You know
Right.
what I mean? It's like now in the last decade or so, I keep running into people that are in my life that do nothing but perpetuate the problem. So I don't feel like I can get it out. You know,
And that's so sad because in my in just my natural character, I don't want anyone to suffer alone. That's what these platforms are for, is to bring awareness, but is also for you to know that it's cliche to say, oh, you deserve this. But sometimes what you deserve is really within the tone of a woman because you're already saying, there's a woman that I need to understand the depths of that. Knowing that she's not here to attack you, but she's here to support you and to take those attacks on with you, but not against you.
yeah, right.
And sometimes the hardest thing to do is to be transparent with someone who, what's the wording for it? To be transparent with an opportunity. That's the hardest thing to do. But for you, Carter, one thing that I see in you is that you're not done fighting. And that's why you're on this platform, because you are not only a survival, you are a gentleman for a platform of men who are afraid to tell their story. And you show bravery today simply by just saying someone needs to know it's okay not to be okay. But although that we are discussing, variations of your life and what you have been through, I would love to know, what does your success look like now? Even though that you've been through,
Well,
God, a lot, what does your
so
success look like?
so success for me, and let me be very, very clear. And I got to be really clear because success for me looks like, Daddy, how you doing? Daddy, I saw you. You look good. Daddy, oh, I'm so proud of you, cousin. I'm so proud of you, Paul. Man, Paul, I seen your movie. All of that. All
Wow.
of that. That's my success. It's not if I get tons of money. It's none of that. It's the feeling that knowing that those that do know in my family, like my kids, that they could look at me because this thing here took on a whole nother life prior to success. It's been drug addiction, it's been prison, it's been some manifestations of some other horrors to support
Mm,
that. You know what I'm saying? And here it is today. I'm not that guy. And that's my biggest success is that I don't have to be him. I may
yeah,
feel some of that, but I don't have to be him. And
right,
when I get validation from my kids, the extension of me, I'm like, wow, man, wow.
right. Well, please
That's
let us be the extension of your family to say we are proud of you. Because
thank you so
again,
much.
if you follow him, I mean, he's already a man of generosity, and we already know he looked good, right? So 67 but holding strong, okay, with back black excellence. But and he can dress, y'all. I'm telling you, we'll definitely put his information, in the chat below. But I tell you, when I saw him, I didn't know much about Mr. Carter, but I knew I wanted him. I wanted him on the show because some people will say, well, that's a common story that a lot of people have, but it's your story.
Mm-hmm.
And the way you survive is different than anyone else. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what we want to advertise, or not even advertise. We want to embrace the most is your story.
Mm-hmm.
And so, of course, we have a game that we always play.
Okay. Come on, gang. Come on, gang.
And so, because this game is really going to allow us to see and now you've already spoke on your pain point, but
Okay.
subconsciously your mind is aware of things that sometimes we're not even aware of. I've done this, and a lot of people in my practice have done this as well to know. So you're gonna be able to tell our viewers what your biggest trigger is, but subconsciously your mind is going to choose it. So you're going to say, my biggest trigger is, and you're going to choose a number between 1 to 10. That's how so you're going to say, my biggest trigger is, and then you're going to say 10 or whatever your number is that
Okay.
subconsciously comes to your mind.
Okay.
You ready?
Sure.
Okay.
My biggest trigger is lying to me, and that's a solid 9.5.
So the good thing, okay, so that's good. That's good. So with this, let me explain it a little bit better, right?
Okay.
So the number is not you selecting it, right? Otherwise, if someone says, Tia, what is your biggest trigger? I would say my biggest trigger is, and whatever number pops to my mind, I'm going to say 4.
Okay.
Now, what that's going to do is it's going to actually reveal to you subconsciously what really is your biggest trigger.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to try it again. Okay,
Okay.
but that's good. He said, look, lying is 9.99.99%. Don't lie to Mr. Carter.
All
Don't
right.
do it. Don't lie to him.
You
Y'all.
playing with me.
He said, don't play with me, play with your mammy, okay?
You know what I'm saying? Right now.
Right now, don't do it. But let's try this. Okay, so again, my biggest trigger is, and then you would select the number.
My biggest trigger, so we already did that. So my biggest trigger is a 7.
Ooh, okay. Feeling betrayed.
9.
Feeling betrayed. That's something deep.
Mm-hmm.
That's something deep. And why do you think the feeling of being betrayed? Because here your subconscious mind is aware that betrayal doesn't sit well with you either. But can you identify why it's a big trigger?
Yeah, betrayal. Because of when I was molested, I felt betrayed by my mother. You know what I'm saying? I felt like she betrayed me. I didn't understand it. She took me to these places not once, but twice. So now I'm feeling betrayed. And then later on in life, once I told someone about my situation in a relationship, and the woman used it against me, I started seeing signs of betrayal. That's one of the reasons why I wrote the movie Fatal Betrayal.
Mm,
Because it led to so much betrayal, and this is so ironic you say that because this betrayal has been the theme coming out of me for the last year or so. You know,
right. And here we are to make sure that that is not one of the things that you experience, because betrayal does come from from the foundation that you have come from. But most importantly, it's about being very picky about who's willing to know that pain point and to not betray you again.
right?
And so, of course, this platform of welcoming our gentlemen is a resource to help you to know that despite what you have been through, once again, betrayal is not your friend. And it's no longer going to be a part of your journey by you continuing to seek the purpose that you have in life. And what a gem it is to be able to see how much you are already a part of your purpose. But in conclusion to all of this, because I'm so ecstatic that you have gifted us, and I know there's so much more. If you all, again, follow Mr. Britton, he's definitely someone that you will love to pieces. But outside of that, are you living with a plan? Or are you living with a purpose?
I'm I'm living with a purpose. And I was thinking
Explain
about
that.
that when you said it earlier. Yeah, I'm living with a purpose, but it also encompasses a plan to achieve that purpose. And my purpose here is to, whenever possible, you got to excuse me.
It's okay.
So sorry.
It's okay.
Whenever I get the opportunity to try to slay that dragon, so somebody else won't have to endure what I have for almost 60 plus years, then I'm gonna do it. That's my purpose. Is to show, to show, to be able to smile in the face of adversity, to show kindness in the face of horror. You know,
Yeah.
those are the things that, those are my purpose. That's my purpose. Is to give that to our black male children, to let them know that look, you don't have to react according to what circumstances and dictate. You know what I'm saying? You know, it's bigger than that. You know, we
Yeah.
all run into certain circumstances, but it's the ammunition that you have in your arsenal to deal with that thing. You know what I
Right.
mean? I think that that's something when we give a cat, it gotta be sold on shelves for our kids. You know what I mean? So they can be armed because, you know, that's the purpose. That's the goal for me is to be able to be a voice for the voiceless.
And let me say this, you are doing that more than a little bit. You're doing that right now because what you have done was made aware to all of our gentlemen that they no longer have to suffer alone. And you're already a voice and advocate for sexual abuse, for social injustice. And even now, you continue to do that by being on podcasts and platforms to help individuals like yourself to recognize the signs, to open up, to let people know when you're scared, when you don't feel safe. This is, you guys, this is something that our viewers, please pay attention to these signs. Let us help Mr. Carter slay the dragon that he not only is dealing with, but also many others who are suffering with sexual abuse. This is something that's very serious. This hits hard for a lot of our gentlemen, and we want to be there to support them in silence by doing all we can to be there for them. So thank you so much for being purposeful and being on this show, for sharing your story. And this is not the last of it. We will be seeing you again. So thank you so much.
I'm on the city.
I know, right? Definitely, let's
Next
give
time I
Mr.
have to be there in person.
I know, right? We definitely have to do it in person, right? And when y'all come back, he will come back with more stories. I'm telling you, this is not the end of him. But definitely, let's give a round of applause for Mr. Carter for being on this show. We really do appreciate it. All right, everybody. Well, you know what time it is. It's time for us to conclude. But most importantly, thank everyone, each and every one of our viewers for taking the time out to be able to be a part of this movement. Again, this is only the beginning. And I say that because there's so much more we have to experience, right? But what a joy it is to be able to see our gentlemen take initiative in sharing their story. For me, it's remarkable because you don't hear this, you don't see this. This might be done on maybe on the privacy of their home or like he mentioned with friends and family. But let's take the opportunity, you all, to support and to do all we can to be a movement for our gentlemen. I appreciate you being here. And please welcome, welcome, welcome to the opportunity of us making a difference in life. I'll see you all on the next episode.
What's up, everybody? This is your girl, Tia J. Did you enjoy this episode? Interested in being featured on the show? Share your plan or purpose with us in the next segment. In the meantime, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. I'll holla.